Welcome to Gen Z Hoops, the Gen Z basketball, coaching, and sports business show.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Gen Z Hoops podcast. Today, I'm joined by TCU assistant coach, Coach Mike Rice. Coach Rice, how you doing today, man?
What's going on, Ashton? Appreciate you having me on.
Oh, no, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I've watched a couple of the episodes, and they're always really good.
Thank you, man. Thank you. So let's jump right into it then. So you actually were a fellow D3 guy at Franklin and Marshall, and like your coaching roots started at Hoop Group as well. So can you take me through it a little? What originally sparked your passion for basketball and coaching as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, I came up in basketball as about as early as you could possibly kind of come up. My dad was a college basketball coach, and his dad was a college basketball coach too. So, I mean, I was kind of just brainwashed from like a very, very early age that, there's never any like, pressure, like you have to do this, you have to, be involved in the game. But, when you're a kid and you're just around it so much and you're going to shoot arounds and you're going to practices, and it's on in your house all the time. And, everyone's about you're just immersed in kind of the basketball culture. It was just I really had no chance. I mean, it was that was the only thing I was probably going to end up doing in life. And yeah, I mean, I ended up going to Franklin and Marshall, which is a super high academic school, obviously in the Centennial Conference in Division III. And like I said, I think like Division III players, it's really for the love of the game, because there's not a you're not there for a scholarship. You're not getting a lot of gear. There's not, per diem. There's not anything like that. You're just, you're there because you want to continue to play basketball and you love it. And yeah, Hoop Group, I would do a lot during the summer at Hoop Group headquarters in Neptune, New Jersey, on the Jersey Shore, and that was just kind of to make some money in the summer and get workout experience and camp experience, and that's kind of a job and a profession where you truly have to love it. I mean, it's like from early in the morning until late at night. When you're in the gym, you get two slices of pizza for lunch, and you keep rolling with it. So yeah, I mean, I just kind of was immersed in it from a young age, and I was a brainwashed basketball baby, that was for sure.
So I like to pivot a little more to more your playing career. So can you
Mhm.
take me through it, like the recruiting process for you and as well as your high school basketball career?
Yeah, I mean, so I actually, I had a lot of high academic Division IIIs was kind of the bulk of my recruiting. Um, I didn't shoot it well enough to, kind of get into that like Ivy Patriot League realm a little bit. But as far as, I had a lot of NESCAC schools, a lot of Centennial Conference schools, kind of in that academic Northeast area. I played high school at a really small high school in Point Pleasant Beach, New Jersey. Played for the, New Jersey Shore Shots AAU, and yeah, I just, I didn't shoot it. I always was a really, high feel, high, really knew how to play the game, and was a coach's son, and could defend and pass at a high level. I didn't shoot it well enough to kind of get to that next level. But yeah, my recruitment was pretty much, I had a lot of high academic Division IIIs, NESCAC, Centennial Conference, some UAA schools. And just kind of fell. I love there was a bunch of New Jersey guys on the team at F&M, when I took my visit, and that it was a great kind of balance of academics and basketball. It was kind of a Division III program that truly cared about winning and winning culture at the D3 level.
Before I chose to go to Hobart my senior year, I really wanted to go to Williams. That was like my like favorite school. I remember I went for the camp up there and on the visit and everything like that. I like fell in love with that campus as well.
Yeah,
Amherst was a really nice school as well. I have a couple friends that go there now. But
yeah.
like those schools in the NESCAC, like that's such like high level competitive basketball. I know a lot of people like overlook the D3 level a lot, but like when you watch those games, especially when it comes tournament time around, like Trinity, Tufts, like all those schools, that's really good basketball right there. I know you could
Yeah,
probably agree on that.
and there's actually like a lot of really good basketball minds that come from like the D3 game too. Like, even here, like we've had, Coach Dixon loves to hire guys coming from the Division III level because they love the game, and they maybe have a more of a respect for, their ego isn't maybe as high as maybe a former pro or someone coming in as a GA. So, you see NBA guys all the time that are head coaches that you kind of look at their background and, oh, well, they played Division three, or they played
Right.
Division three. So it's cool to see.
You also see a lot of pros like overseas that went the D3 route as well. There's always like a misconception where it's like, oh, you have to go D1 to be a professional basketball player. But no, you
Right.
can actually take the D3 route and go pro as well overseas.
Absolutely.
So you went from player to intern at Game 7 Marketing, then
Mhm.
into coaching. So what made you fully commit to that pivot into basketball rather than just staying in the marketing world?
Yeah, so I did that internship actually right before my senior year of college. And that was kind of obviously Division three, you don't have summer workouts. So you're just kind of, in the summer you're figuring out obviously ways to make some money, what you want to do, kind of build your resume. And, obviously I had a pretty good basketball resume. And I was lucky. Obviously I had a family that was kind of immersed in it, and a lot of people knew me through that. Um, but I did want to see, like, okay, like maybe if there was something, it'd be, something in kind of sports marketing world. And Game 7 was actually a really cool company in Brooklyn that actually runs the New York versus New York, the street ball tournament,
Right.
kind of throughout New York. So that was a really cool thing. Again, I just, when after that was kind of over and I got, offered the opportunity to come to TCU as a GA, it really took me like 2 or 3 days as a GA where I was just like, this is what I want to do. This is the only thing I want to do. So it was, the marketing thing was a really cool summer thing, opportunity, but it was just 1 or 2 days of as a GA, and I was hooked. So
So now, looking back at your time at Hoop Group and as a camp coach as well, what were some like early lessons or habits that you picked up that you still use today at the college level?
I think that is truly just like being a grinder and you know, kind of realizing that you're gonna have to, especially in the basketball world, you're gonna have to put in a lot of time for not a lot of reward, especially early in your career. Is the hours that are spent for and maybe you're not compensated as much as you should think, whatever it is, but the grind and the time commitment that goes into player development, it goes into kind of the game is probably the biggest lesson, where it's just learning how to be in the gym all day. Honestly, that was probably the number one thing I learned from my hoop group, days in the summer working camps, was just how to be in the gym all day and love it. And that's kind of the time commitment that it takes for in player development.
That's not a bad place to be though. Hoop Group,
No,
that's a
absolutely
beautiful
not.
facility.
It
All
is.
those jerseys on the wall. I
Yeah.
believe how many courts is it again? Like three,
Four.
four
I
courts? Yeah.
basically I grew up there, so that was my second home growing up.
You have Team Rio practicing over there as well.
Yep.
Great, great program over there. So moving on. So you're deeply involved in analytics and video as well. How do you, I know this is like a big misconception in professional sports as well as college sports as well for assistant coaches. So how do you strike like the right balance between what the numbers say and what it looks like on the court?
Yeah, it's really, really, it's interesting because there's a lot of, as especially as a, like I said, someone coming from the Division three level that wasn't a pro. um, the easiest way to get into, whether it's college, high level college, mid major, or the NBA, is kind of through video and analytics. But at the same time, you don't want to completely like pigeonhole yourself into I'm a video and analytics guy too. So it is hard finding that balance, and especially in the game and in game planning and scouting, is finding that thing where it's there's a million numbers, there's a million trends that you can show, but what can your team really grasp, and what can your whole staff as a whole grasp? So I think that's something that a lot of staffs maybe not struggle with, but are trying to find the balance of it. For me, I always like, and I always say this, whether I'm doing a personnel edit or typing up a personnel on a scout, or team tendencies, whatever it is. I always like to watch the film before I look at the numbers, and I like to, have all my notes, whatever it is, while I'm watching film, and then whether then I'm looking at, okay, did my eyes deceive me? Does this make sense? Now I'm looking at the numbers. I'd rather match the film to numbers than the other way around. Because I don't want to, and kind of for me, when you look at numbers before you watch the film, you maybe have a bias that, okay, I'm only looking for this. I'm looking for why this is. And then now when it's the other way around, you're kind of like, oh, now that makes sense. That's what I was thinking in my head when I was watching it. And now, that number makes sense.
So now let me ask you this. Are there certain things that you thought like, all right, yeah, like I like this on the floor as a player, and now you're like, I don't really like that so much now as a coach.
Oh, that's a good one. I think like the biggest thing for me, um, and what I didn't realize as a player as much, like this is a very like specific thing, but like hands on ball screen coverage. Like,
Right.
I would always, as a player, it's like you're tired, whatever it is, and you didn't affect the passes as much as you should. And now realizing as a coach, and this again very specific. We're a very aggressive ball screen coverage team.
Mhm.
Our guards have to be, elite hand pressure and ball pressure and deflect passes and ball screens because we always have two on the ball. That's just one thing that like as a player I would always, if I was my coaches were saying that, like it wasn't always something that was registering in my brain all the time, and now going through, a Big 12 with Big 12 ball handlers and ball screens, that's something that that's just very specific thing. I don't know why that popped in my head, but that was one that I would say.
Do you guys blitz a lot of ball screens over there? Like what's like a typical like standard coverage for you guys?
Ours is, yeah, we're committing two to the ball. It's not, I wouldn't say it's a blitz because we're not attacking up the boards, we say, or
Right.
towards half court, but it's pretty much a flat hedge or even kind of angled to like the opposite like half court corner.
Hmm.
And it's, yeah, and then the big stays until we either say he picks it up, he retreats, or he passes. So it's committing
Right.
to the ball, and then we're taking away the ball handler, we're taking away the rim, and we're forcing skips, and our athletes are in closeout situations after that.
Right. What we usually do at school right now, it's like a black, so it's like a basically a hard hedge and like, but it doesn't really work if like the on-ball defender like doesn't send in. If he
Right.
doesn't send in, then he can just like easily reject the screen and go the other way.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
hard hedge, we basically just want to like force the pickup like and push the offense like further back because the shot clock's 30 seconds, so it takes them like a little. If we like do like a little bit of like a tempo press or something like that, pick up like 94, then like that uses up like I want to say like at least 6 to 8 seconds off the clock. So then
Right.
they're in like retreat mode,
Yep.
if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
our biggest thing is no rejects because we have our big on the other side, so they don't get rejected. And then, and then it cannot be a straight line pass out of the ball screen. It's got to
Right.
be a skip. It's got to be a retreat, jump in the air. It's got to be, a hard pass to make. Because if you're committing two on the ball and they're throwing, straight line passes out of it, you're in trouble against a lot of the teams that we play against.
Aside from just on my curiosity as well, how do you guys like your help defender? Do you like him like all the way in that safety, like in the restricted area under the rim, or do you
Yep.
like him like 1 foot out? Like depending, it
Yeah,
depends from
so
program.
it depends. We like to we're all the way loaded up, we'd like to say. So we'll have, if they're going away from the two side, we'll have a high tag and a low tag.
Okay,
And the high tag's there for the short roll, and then the low tag's there for the lob.
right.
So, but yeah, usually like at the restricted or a step above the restricted is kind of where we say for
Okay.
that low man. Yep.
Yeah, I love hearing like different defensive strategies. I know it like varies per program and per coach, so I'm always like looking to like pick people's brains. Thank you
Yeah,
for that though.
of
So,
course.
so when preparing for a Big 12 opponent, let's look to that now. What
Okay.
does your week look like from a scouting and film perspective?
Oof. So yeah, so I stay pretty ahead of our schedule. So for every team, um, it's at least five games in advance of what we have had we've had clipped out, and our managers do a great job of coding, and how we have our all of our scout code windows, and sports code stuff, and then that's on my hard drive, weeks in advance. And then yeah, it's probably about 5 games fully where I'm going through, obviously offense, defense, blob, slob, ATOs, special situations, and then I'm probably done with like the first edit of the scout where like it's typed up and it just kind of it's done. Probably if we're playing Saturday, that's done by Wednesday. When Tuesday or Wednesday. I'd say something, and sometimes even before that. So that's kind of what goes into it. Is that what kind of what you're looking for, like a timeline, like
Oh
that?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was just gonna now to branch off of it. So now how differently do you approach scouting per week? So like let's say it's a defensive minded team like Texas Tech or like a very high paced team like Kansas. Like how differently would you approach the scout for that week?
Yeah, the as far as preparation wise, no, it doesn't change much based
Okay.
on the team. You're going to prepare the same amount. We prepare the same amount for, a bye game in the non-conference as we do for a Big 12 game. Obviously, everyone's as important as ever. So, but yeah, it probably this, it obviously if it's like the first game of the year, it's a little tougher. But yeah, I would say 5 games, 5, 6 games minimum, is what goes into each scout, and then as far as that goes, it's multiple times over. It's creating the edits. It's going through synergy and double triple checking yourself. You can't be you can't be thorough enough in scouting at our level. The players are so good, the coaches are so good that it's just every little advantage you can find, any little thing you can find to get to your guys, could be the difference. So you can't be thorough enough.
Do you ever have like a do you have like a story from like recent years where you had to make like an adjustment on the fly from a scout?
Ooh, let me think. Oh, that's a good question. I mean, it happens like all the time.
Right. Like
Uh,
one that sticks out.
Sticks out in my brain. Oh God, that's a good one. Yeah, I mean, we don't like to like completely overcomplicate things either.
Right.
From game to game, we're a very principle based team,
Okay.
which is more like we're we hope to influence. We hope to our principles are we're not doing them well enough. Something's not we're not doing it's not what they're doing. We have to do what we're doing better. If it's not working, that's kind of our mindset. I'm thinking about one in specific, and this is a very like small one, but like and it was more like game to game, but like so even like UCF this year I had Keyshawn Hall.
Right.
And we normally would switch a lot 1 to 4. And we decided before the first game that we were gonna try to keep our 4 man on him the whole game and hedging it back. And we were down 15-0 in the first like 3 minutes, because we'd worked on it in practice, but until you really go through it in a game, and go through it like we did it live, we did it with our scout team. It's hard to go. Obviously, when you're switching a lot 1 to 4, there's no low man for a 4 man ball screen. You're it's really 2 guys involved in the action. So he was picking, popping us. He was slipping out. He was early in. He was ghosting, and he had 12 points in the first 13 seconds, like first 30
Wow.
seconds of the game, literally. And the next game, we kind of kept it normal. Um, went back to switching and kind of tilted the floor when he got in the post with our smaller guys, and we held him to his like Big 12 low in the second game. So that was one that it wasn't mid game, but that's one example of something that changes from game to game, especially when you're playing a team twice.
So since you were talking about your team culture in a way,
Mhm.
so what can you elaborate more upon that culture and the rest of the coaching staff, like what you guys are building at TCU and basically what it makes it unique at the end of the day in the Big 12 landscape?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, Coach Dixon is one of the best to ever do it in the college game. I mean, I think we tell it recruits all the time. Like he's one of five coaches that, in his first 21 years as a head coach, he went to the NCAA tournament 16 times. Like
Wow.
it's pretty remarkable. So just to have someone like him at the helm, and kind of all the history that he brings and the intensity that he brings every single day, is really special. So it's pretty for us. It's pretty easy to follow someone like that, and learn from somebody like that who's been doing it for as long as he has it at the top level. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, our staff is great. Tony Benford and Dwayne Broussard, who've been, high level for as long time. Coach McNeely, Jamie McNeely, who's kind of been around too, and Coach and Corey Santee, who's a Hall of Famer here at TCU. So we have a really really good staff, and I actually like we've been together. Like our staff's been together for 5 6 years now, and
Wow.
that's something you just don't see in college basketball. And that's I think obviously when no one's leaving, it means they like the person they work for. Obviously,
Right.
so we're we love working for coach is awesome, and the culture that we built here at TCU obviously. Over his past 9 years has been the best run in this school's history. So I think that kind of speaks to itself, with what we've kind of built in the toughest league in America. When he got here, they were 1 in 1 in 18 or 1 in 17 in the big 0 and 18 in the Big 12 the year before. So what he's been able to do and what we've kind of all kind of culminated here at TCU has been the last couple of years has been really good, and we just got to kind of keep it rolling.
So we focus more on the analytics, video coordinator side of your role, but you're also an assistant coach, and that is your main role.
Mhm.
So, what role do assistant coaches like yourself play in recruiting, and what traits do you really look for and prioritize when identifying a potential prospect for TCU?
Yeah, I mean, now in this era, it's kind of a whole smorgasbord of things now, with what our role is in the recruitment process. Obviously, with the portal being such a big emphasis, for everybody, but for us, it's been really good to us over the years. I mean, now it goes from evaluator to negotiator to
Right,
best friend to it's kind of all over the place now. But I mean, I think the biggest, especially my role here at TCU is evaluator. And you can have all the money in the world to spend, and you cannot have all the money in the world to spend. But if you're not spending money on the right guys, you're in trouble. And that's what that's the thing is that you need guys in your staff, that can quickly, and especially in the portal, quickly obviously these portal recruitments are much shorter than high school kid recruitment, so that can really take into account and weigh his film, his numbers, talking to his old coaches about who he is as a person. Is he a winner? All those things, and be able to kind of take that in and be able to pull the trigger, and also get them on campus and show your vision and show how you're going to use them and all that stuff. So it is. I mean, it's stressful. It's a hard thing that happens in a short amount of time. But I think, yeah, the biggest thing is knowing knowing who pieces that fit into how you like to play. Um, Making sure their analytics, their numbers, there's a million all-in-one metrics now, and all this stuff that kind of goes into it, that checks out. And that they have to pass the eye test. All the
right.
all the numbers in the world make are great, but you have to be able to sit down and spend the time and watch the film. And then also their character. I mean, I think that's obviously for us and with coach, that's always first and foremost, is that they have to be a good person. They have to be a good human. They have to be a good teammate. And especially now with team turnover being what it is, like they got to be able to come in and get along with guys and get along with different personalities.
So branching off of that, what does player accountability look like in the TCU program? You are a college basketball player, so you definitely know like your mind can start drifting off during a long, arduous season as well as like a preseason as well. But how do you guys keep guys locked in during the period of the Big 12 season?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is obviously we all want to win, and that's what it is. But like, at a level in the Big 12, like these guys all want to be NBA players.
Right.
So, I think that solves a lot of things where it's truly like in this league, it is if you're playing well and you're one of the best top players in the league and you've worked your way into that conversation, like you're probably an NBA player. So I think that kind of speaks that motivates our guys enough is that when you get to this level in this league, you're knocking on the door there for the next level. So it's kind of that kind of speaks for itself. And they all want to win too, and things happen, but it's that motivation kind of speaks for itself. And when you're playing in the league like the Big 12, where it's you're right there if you can perform, if you can work your way to a position where you're one of the better players in the league, then you're right on the doorstep of becoming an NBA player.
So looking more into like the fandom aspect of the sport, what are some young TCU players that you believe fans should keep an eye on for this upcoming season?
Yeah, so we obviously last year, I don't know the exact stat, but we were like the only team in the Big 12 that had like five freshmen or three freshmen in their like top half of the rotation playing more than like 10 minutes per game. And we were able to keep all of our true freshmen from last year. Obviously, so guys that got valuable experience last year. I mean, like, David Punch who started basically every single game started every game of the Big 12 and came into the starting lineup like right after Thanksgiving last year. He's a kid that's kind of blowing up, I think, this summer, where he's becoming more and more comfortable playing on the perimeter. Obviously, he was our best defender last year as a freshman, as a true freshman, and can truly guard 1 through 5. And I think it has a really good chance of being an all conference guy and an NBA player down the road. Um, got Micah Robinson, obviously another young guy that played a lot of minutes last year. It continues to kind of transform his body. Has become an elite, closeout killer, shooter, and getting downhill to either way, left and right, and an explosive finisher at the rim. Um, and then a guy that probably has taken the biggest jump. That didn't play quite as much last year, but was Malik Diallo, who's going to be a rising sophomore, who's really, really good connector, short roll, DHOs, good touch around the rim. So I think as the guys that are returning from last year, those three kind of stand out in my head. They got really good, valuable experience um, in Big 12 games and are now back and returners for us, young guys.
So for this upcoming season, if you can describe this upcoming TCU team in one word or phrase, what would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think I don't want to get too cliche here, but I just think exciting. I think I think that over the years we've had really exciting teams. Obviously, we've had teams that led the country in transition points and kind of all the major transition stats over the last 3 years. We're up there and leading them, if not number one in a lot of them, and kind of percentage of points in fast breaks and total transition points and total percent of possessions on fast breaks, kind of all those major stats. But I think this team is very exciting. I think it's the best shooting team since I've been here for sure. And obviously, we had some really good offensive teams with Emmanuel Miller and Mike Miles and Damian Ball. Micah Peavy, obviously. So we've had some really good offense and really athletic and fast offensive teams, but I think this is our most skilled shooting team that we've had um, through it. And that was kind of an emphasis for us in the portal was guys that can put the ball in the hoop because that's kind of one area we had struggled in over the past couple of years. We've been very big and athletic, but I think this is probably the most skilled and the best shooting team that we've had since I've been here.
So, as we both know, as players and on the coaching side as well, growth is a big aspect of basketball as a whole. So,
Absolutely.
what would you say is the biggest difference between the assistant coach that you are today and the one who started as a grad assistant in 2020?
I think it's just like finding your voice and your confidence. I think is big. I think um, and I've been, like I said, I've been very, very lucky in being able to move up here. And Coach Dixon's been awesome to me, and has given me all the opportunity in the world. So, I can't thank him enough for that. But it's truly just finding your voice and being confident enough in yourself to and the confidence really comes from the work you put in off the court. Obviously, if you haven't watched it a million times or gone through it yourself, and you're not sure of what you're saying on the court, then you're probably not going to sound as confident, and the guys are going to kind of see right through that. So I think it's really just putting in the work and knowing what you say on the court is right, and you've watched it. But I think that's probably the biggest difference for me as a GA to now as an assistant, is just my voice on the court, and kind of commanding the respect of the guys, of maybe of the others, of your other assistants, and kind of everyone in the program. Is That's probably the biggest, is just the reps, the confidence, like I said, the confidence comes from the work you put in.
Right. What would you say is your proudest moment at TCU so far? It could be either as a coach or even behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, proudest moment, I think, kind of goes there. You can go kind of two things. Oh, like, what's your best win, or your whatever what it is. I think like my proudest moment, or the most fun that I've had, is 23 we beat Kansas by 23 at Kansas.
I
And
actually remember that.
yeah,
I
it was
remember.
like a 11 it was a noon game on CBS, like the entire country was watching it. And we won by 23 points. And it was just one of those, because if you've been to that building, that it's the hardest place to win. Like, it's, nobody goes in there and
Right.
wins. Nobody, especially nobody goes in there and wins by 23 points. And to have a day like that, where their fans were leaving early from the game, was something I'll never forget. Um, and then on like an individual aspect, I think like one player that I was with a lot. I'll give two examples for that. One player I was with, like Emmanuel Miller, got to TCU, and he had made two career threes before he was at Texas A&M, and was a really good player, but was a guy that probably didn't have a chance to play in the NBA because he couldn't stretch the floor. He was a really good mid post player. He was a great offensive rebounder. He was a great athletic defender, but he couldn't stretch the floor. And he was a kid that we spent, me specifically, but our whole staff spent a lot of time with, getting more comfortable on the perimeter, getting his shot off quicker, watching all of his closeout opportunities, watching where he can look to float to the perimeter, and then by the end of his career, turn himself into an NBA, a two-way wing. So that was one guy. And then I think the other guy who I think, me personally, I spent a lot of time with, was Jameer Nelson Jr.,
Yeah.
who was only with us for 1 year, but kind of came in as a scorer who actually had like a 1-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, in the CAA. And we needed to try to turn him into more of a point guard. And he had his best assisted turnover year that he had, and really towards the end of that season, I think it was 23, 24. And just watching all of his ball screens every day in practice, every time he came off a ball screen or a handoff, watching all of his minutes, just the stuff that every assistant does. But when it kind of comes to reality, and you kind of see the numbers at the end of the year, that's a very proud moment.
So I asked all my guests this as my final question. So when you look 5 to 10 years down the line, what do you hope your coaching career will evolve into? And would you ever want to lead a program of your own one day?
Yeah, I mean, that's the dream. That's what we're all, that's me personally, that's what I'm building towards. I've been obviously very, very lucky to learn from someone like Coach, and seeing how he kind of goes about his day, and what it means to lead a program. And um I'm young and I'm learning still, but yeah, that's the dream, is to one day be a Power Five head coach. And that's what we're working towards.
Well, Coach Rice, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity today, and I wish you the best of luck with your upcoming season.
I appreciate it, Ashton. Thanks for having me.
for listening to Gen Z Hoops. Make sure to follow, like, and subscribe on Instagram, LinkedIn, and all major social media platforms at Gen Z Hoops. You can tune in and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and every other podcast platform on the planet. Get ready for the next episode.